Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Holy frickin' moly, I mean, we've got a full-blown bombshell on our hands. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, former Kamala Harris running mate, little tampon Timothy Walz, has just been named directly in the alleged manifesto of the man who assassinated two lawmakers in cold blood. And yes, you heard that right. The shooter, Vance Bolter, allegedly wrote a letter claiming that Governor Tim Walz gave him a kill list, instructing him to take the lives of politicians like Senator Amy Klobuchar. And no, I know what you're thinking. This isn't some fringe, 4chan speculation. This is being reported in big mainstream outlets. This Vance Bolter individual murdered sitting Democrat officials and targeted multiple others, and as we know, left a hit list. And now he's allegedly saying that he got his marching orders from the guy who ran for vice president in the last election on the Kamala Harris ticket. Yeah, you could probably imagine the left is totally panicking after spending the last week trying to convince us that this guy was a MAGA shooter. It now turns out that this is the latest report, and they're already shrugging it off with statements like, oh, well, it's just an incoherent letter. Are you freaking kidding me? I mean, just imagine if this letter had Trump's name on it. The CNN panels would be on DEFCON 1, probably screaming something about civil war. But of course, because the finger's now being pointed at one of their buddies, all of a sudden it's radio silence. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on here. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so here's the report.
Assassin who disguised himself as a cop to shoot down Democrat politicians and their spouses. He killed two and seriously injured two others. Today, we're finding out he wrote a letter to the FBI claiming he was trained by the U.S. military, quote, off the books, and that Tim Walz asked him to kill Amy Klobuchar so he could take her Senate seat. Belter's facing state and federal murder charges.
I don't know what to say other than holy freaking crap. And also, I'm still as confused as ever because remember, initially there was a manifesto, then the FBI told us there wasn't a manifesto.
There's been a lot of press coverage and speculation and discussion of a manifesto. I've seen nothing like a Unabomber-style manifesto in his writings. He had many, many notebooks full of plans, lists of names, surveillance, efforts that he took to surveil and locate the home addresses and family members' relationships with these elected officials. But I have not seen anything involving some sort of political screed or manifesto.
And well, now all of a sudden, I guess there's a manifesto or there's a letter. And remember, over the last couple of weeks, the left kept going on and on about this hit list, right? We kept hearing this. Oh, we know that he was a Trump MAGA shooter because he had a, quote, hit list. Yeah, well, apparently he did. It just doesn't exactly back up the leftist narrative claim. So there's supposedly an incoherent, poorly written letter that's 1.5 pages long, where the shooter Bolter claims that he was trained off the books by the U.S. military and was instructed by Governor Tim Walz to take the lives of Amy Klobuchar and others, allegedly because Tim Walz wanted Amy Klobuchar's Senate seat. And look, now I'm not saying that Bolter's rambling letter is the gospel truth here. I think it's very obvious that this guy is unstable, clearly deranged and unwell, but also at the same time, let's state the obvious, because imagine if the shooter had written that Donald Trump told me to do this. You think the media would be so cautious? Would the media be so quick to write it all off as just the delusional rambling of an insane person? Of course not. They'd be demanding immediate investigation, testimony, impeachment, prosecution. And so I'm sitting here thinking, it's likely that this guy is just a crazy person. But also, why is it that when Tim Walz is literally named and implicated, it's a non-story and people instantly just draw the conclusion that there's no merit to the claim? I think we need a fair standard across the board. And let's not forget that Vance Bolter worked directly for Tim Walz, and so did his wife back when he was in Congress in 2010. And actually, she was just caught fleeing with $50,000, cash, ammo, and multiple passports. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? How is this not front page national news? Jesse Waters covered it, but the rest of the mainstream media, I mean, total crickets. And of course, now considering these stacking stories of extremist characters being connected to Tim Walz, I don't know, at this point, I'd say it's cause for concern. There's a little bit of a pattern of extremism being connected to the Tim Walz orbit here. Considering that, is it something that we now just shove under the rug? Oh, it's just the ramblings of a crazy man? Or do we look into this? I mean, if we take the Democrat standard, no one is above the law, right?
The idea that no person is above the law is a bedrock principle of American justice.
No man is above the law, no matter what the crime.
And I agree with you. No man is above the law, and no person is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one's above the law. No one is above the law.
No man is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No man is above the law.
He has to be held accountable. He's not above the law.
No one's above the law. Either that nor any other title puts you above the rule of law.
No one is truly above the law.
That is what it means to have a rule of law. That is what it means to not have a king.
They're not above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
Everyone will be treated, as Merrick Garland has said, as equally.
Well, that no one is above the law, which is foundational.
No one is above the law, even a former president.
We have one set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone.
No one is above the law.
The law is the law, and no one should be above it.
And yes, nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one else is above the law, including a president.
Nobody is above the law. You can't have two justice systems in America. It has to be one justice system. And anybody who breaks the law should be held accountable.
And that no one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
Well, if we hold that standard, considering how serious this allegation is, at the very least, we should see an investigation. I mean, at the very, very least, if this was Donald Trump, again, if this was any Republican that was being connected to a shooter in a manifesto claiming that said Republican is ordering political hits, there's no way this would ever get shoved under the rug. It'd be wall-to-wall coverage, non-stop. We'd be getting lectures from CNN and MSNBC panels about the threat to democracy and the MAGA movement being a domestic terrorist organization. It would be non-stop. And so same thing for them. That's called consistency. So no, leftoids, after the last week of trying to pin this one on us, we're not just gonna let this slide and let it move on and give Tim Walz the pass. The people deserve to know the truth. They deserve to get to the bottom of the claim every time, regardless of which party it implicates. And right now, I'll tell you, Tim Walz has a hell of a lot of explaining to do. You know, maybe, just maybe, there was actually a little bit more to this clip after all.
Yeah, I sat in that office with those Sandy Hook parents. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it.
Oh, and actually, here's a bonus article. Just to continue highlighting this question of what the hell is going on in Minnesota, Democrat donor and lobbyist arrested for allegedly threatening to shoot people at Minnesota State Capitol. Jonathan Michael Bone, a 41-year-old Democrat donor and lobbyist based in Woodbury, was arrested this week on felony charges after authorities say he sent threatening texts boasting of a plan to shoot somebody's face off at the Minnesota State Capitol. According to the criminal complaint, Bone, a lobbyist who has ties to the inter-faculty organization representing Minnesota State University faculty, allegedly sent a series of violent messages to a former acquaintance with whom he'd had political differences. Oh, what a surprise, another radical Minnesota Democrat threatening violence against somebody that disagrees with him politically. Pretty much par for the course for radical leftist politics, but again, what the hell is going on in Minnesota